Hello and welcome to my new video. Today's video is going to be about the prolific rapist and sex offender Reynhard Sinaga. Now, Reynhard Sinaga is 36. He's from Indonesia. He came over to Manchester in England back in 2007. And you've probably all heard, some of you, if you've been watching this, you've probably heard in the last 2 weeks, that Reynhard Sinaga has been put in jail for 30 years minimum. And that now looks like he could be in jail for life because the Attorney General says he's prolific, he's a danger to the community, and for what he's done, he should be in jail forever. And actually, I think he's right, really. One rape is bad enough, but 136 of young men in England, in Manchester, that's taken it to a whole new level. One of the things about this case that struck me was that Reynhard Sinaga came to Manchester in England back in 2007. And I remember watching a documentary on Channel 4, I would say 3-4 years ago. I remember it was on at 9 o'clock in the evening and I'd seen it come up on the TV listings guide and I said, I have to watch this, this could be of interest. And it was called The Pusher. And the pusher was somebody who was pushing young men into the canals in Manchester. And the pusher, the first crimes of that particular person started in 2007. I mean, there's been 15 unexplained deaths of young men in Manchester canals. Other people have just gone missing. And Reynhard Sinaga, coincidentally, turned up in Manchester in 2007 when the pusher started being prolific. Now, come on. I know good feelings don't solve crimes. I know coincidences don't solve crimes. But this is a big coincidence. And I'm sure Manchester Police, Metropolitan Police, are looking at this at the moment and saying, we've got to look and see, is he in any way responsible for these men going missing and found dead in the canal, unexplained deaths. So Reynhard Sinaga he's been charged with offences between 2015 and 2017, but that doesn't mean he didn't commit offences way before that, which I'd say he did. So he's been charged with 136 rapes, and that's in a 2-year period. Imagine what he must have been doing over a decade. I mean, you could be going into thousands. He moved into Manchester in 2007, and I think he moved again. But he moved towards a district which was closer to the nightlife in Manchester, and a lot of gay clubs close by. His parents didn't know he was gay, or so he says. And when he would go back to Indonesia, he would change his hair colour back to being more conservative. He wouldn't have the yellow dye in it, and he would be dressing more conservatively. And his parents apparently didn't have a clue who that he was gay. Which I don't know. It's hard to know whether that's true or not, but it has no bearing on really what the case was. But it shows that he's quite clever in what he would do. Most guys would probably just come clean and say, look, I'm gay or whatever, and the parents probably would have to accept it, and that's it. And that's the way things are nowadays. But in this case, he was hiding it, and he was clever in how he was hiding. He was cunning, and that's a part of his personality that we see in how he was evading the police and not letting young men know he was drugging them and then raping them. So it pretty much started that he would go out to clubs at 12 a.m, 1 a.m, 2 a.m. in the morning, and he would just go around the streets. He would just wait outside the clubs, in the bars, and he would say, are you looking for a taxi home? And the guy would say, oh, I'm so drunk, I've no money to get home in a taxi. Oh, you can come back to my place. I've got a little flat close by here, I have a few drinks there. You can have a few drinks, And that's something that the black cab rapist used in England many years ago, when a guy called John Warboys, he was the guy who said, oh, I've won the lottery to female passengers in his taxi. Look at the money I won. And he'd show like loads of cash, which he had already taken out of the local credit union. He'd withdrawn something like £2,000, and he always had it in his cab, and he would pretend he won the lottery that day and he was collecting his winnings. Then he would offer them a glass of champagne. But the cans of Coke and the cans of Fanta Orange and Club Orange were already opened, and he'd spiked them. And Reynhard Sinaga was also doing stuff like this. So he'd bring the young guys back to his apartment, or to his flat, and you can clearly see him on the CCTV. You know, he's running around like this, flying down the stairs. You know, and it's just like it's so unbelievable, but it actually happened. You just can't believe it. It's like something out of a comedy sketch, but it's nothing to be funny about. It's nothing to laugh about. This is serious stuff. He's a criminal, but it's just incredible the way he's just jogging down the stairs, running out the door, picking up somebody, bringing them back, giving them the GHB drug, and then they're out of it for about 2 hours, 3 hours, and he does his dirty deeds. I mean, it's disgusting. And he wasn't using condoms. He never used condoms. So God only knows, did he have disease, did he have infection? But for the men to wake up not knowing what happened, and then to find out from police when they come and, because they had to go through CCTV, so they would have been able to see a lot of the men that probably turned up at the apartment, and then tried to identify them, and then asked young men to come forward. You know, did they know this guy? Did they go back to his place? This guy is prolific. I mean, it's very, very sad what happened to those guys. 136 rapes. That's sick, you know. This guy should never be let out of jail. He's a menace to society. But he was so sneaky in how he did it. And he was texting a friend and saying, you know, he was kind of using words in his texts that police began to realize that it was kind of code. He was using code in how to explain, oh yes, I brought a young boy, I brought a young man back to my place and gave him some poison, the poison of life, you know, meaning the GHB drug. He was talking in riddles and all that sort of stuff. So it's great that he's been caught, but the Metropolitan Police in Manchester have to determine, where was this guy when the Manchester pusher was, you know, in full flow? When men were turning up in the canal dead, bodies were turning up, and no one could explain what had happened. This is very similar to what your man was doing, Sinaga. I mean, were these guys actually at his apartment? Did he drug them and then he tried to walk them home and then he just pushed them into the canal? Very similar circumstances. I mean, this guy has to be in some way connected to that. He arrived in England in 2007, and that's when all these problems in Manchester with the canal pusher started to happen. So, you know, you can connect the dots. It's very easy to put the jigsaw together. I am sure they're already looking into it. I tweeted Metropolitan Police in Manchester to ask them, could they look into it? So I'm hoping they saw that and that they will. I'm sure they have. I mean, they're not stupid. So we'll see what happens on that front. But I'm so glad he's been caught, because you know, God knows how many more rapes he would have committed. I have some other information in relation to Reynhard Sinaga as well. As I said, he was a mature student. He was 36. And the Attorney General in the last 24 hours says he's a prolific rapist and he should never be released. So that looks like that's going to happen. And his parents are still in denial. You know, I can never understand the parents. You know, surely if your child is convicted, you know, with very substantial proof that he did do this, you know, you can't just say, oh, my Reynhard wouldn't do that. You know, oh, it's not possible he would have done that. You know, well, it is possible he did it, and he did do it. And I'm afraid you're going to have to just come clean and say that's what happened. But he was going around changing his identity as well, going back to Indonesia, changing his hair colour, changing his clothes, and then he'd come back. And he was doing all these things. It's absolutely incredible. We remember the doctor. Remember the Dr. Death. The guy's name I can't remember at the moment. He was an elderly man, but he used to go around and to poison elderly women, elderly patients who were very old and feeble and fragile, and they were probably near death anyway, but he would just give them loads of morphine and kill them off. I mean, there are people like that out there, and I'm so glad Reynhard Sinaga has been caught, and hopefully it's justice for all those men that have been raped, and maybe some haven't come forward. If you're watching this video and he did attack you in any kind of way, or he did harm you, and you know something, come forward. You'll get specialist counselling, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. You know, it's nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong. He just went back to his flat. He promised you a drink or whatever. Nothing wrong with that. He had no right to do what he did. So never feel guilty in any kind of way. And if you don't want to tell your family or your friends or whatever, go and tell the police, and they'll keep it privately. And if you want to press charges, do, because I'm sure this guy attacked more people than 136 men. If he's done 136, there's a very big chance he did 200. and just some haven't come forward, and they probably never know of other men. Maybe some men don't know what he did, you know, they just woke up. But it's unbelievable. I did promise actually that I would talk about as well about Frankie Dunne. This is the homeless man who went missing in Cork just before Christmas, and then was found a couple of days after Christmas, decapitated and with no limbs. And his body parts were found in various locations behind a house in Cork near Blackrock. Now there's a person of interest that Gardaí, that's the police here in Ireland, they're trying to search for somebody who had already pre-booked flights leaving Belfast International Airport and going to Eastern Europe. I think this person was flying to Edinburgh, as far as I know, and then was getting another flight somewhere to, or probably a boat, to go to Eastern Europe. Person of interest, not being found guilty of anything, just the police want to talk to this person. He did appear on CCTV cameras very close to the location, and he apparently is an Eastern European man. I've heard some rumours and speculation that he might have been a chef. I'm not too sure about that. That's just hearsay. So we won't look into that too much. But that's what I've heard from some sources locally in Cork. But we'll have to wait and see. But either way, Frankie Dunne, a homeless man. No one deserves that type of death. It's bad enough killing someone, but to chop them up into various different pieces, it's bad. That's a nasty side to somebody, and this person who's done that needs to be caught very quickly. But the case seems to have gone a bit dead for the moment, because I mean, the crime happened around 26th, 27th, maybe Christmas Day, and this person's on the run since around 26th or 27th of December. So where is this person gone? Does anyone know who this person is? It's a person that the police want to talk to in relation to the crime on Frankie Dunne, and God rest his soul, and the family as well. So that's the video today on Reynhard Sinaga and a little bit on Frankie Dunne. I'll cover the Reynhard Sinaga case in a little bit more detail as we get more details again, because I'd say there's more to this case than meets the eye. But in the meantime, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching the videos. There's other videos in my videos as well if you want to go and check them. Previous homicides that have been committed here in Ireland. And I'll subscribe and comment as well. And I'll always, if it's a meaningful comment and not a troll type comment, I'll always respond to you as well. Thank you very much. Have a great day.